So, this week's little bundle of sci-fi books is not very good, and there's nothing special about them. Next week, however, fingers crossed, I spotted some Star Trek ones I need to go back and get. I got distracted and I forgot all about them. But there's a couple of really good, there's some Star Trek ones. I didn't even get to look at them, so I'm not sure. But they looked in mint condition, brand new. So I'll have to go and see if I can get them. My gal pal decides to say hi. You've seen her in some of the shorts. You want to watch Star Trek, Sandy? No. Go on. She's the little one. She's the little queen. The big queen is her big sister. It seems Sandy took after the mother in size, like this, but Smokey took after the daddy, like this. So, anyways, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, none of that fancy smashy stuff going on here. And I'm a series person, so we've been doing Star Trek Next Generation recap episodes every single Friday for over a year now. We're getting towards the end of 6. We're on I think it's disc 5. And episode 245, we've done Birthright, we've done Starship Mine. Next week we'll do The Chase, and we should have some Star Trek books to go with it. We'll have to see. So these are they're not very good. They're not, they're nothing special about them. A couple of them are kids' books. I didn't realize it till later. But we have Fable Haven, Brandon Mull. After centuries of plotting, the Sphinx, leader of the Society of the Evening Star, is after the final artifacts needed to open the great demon prison. ZZYZX. Is the legendary prison is opened, a tide of evil is certain to usurp control of the world. In an effort to intercept the final artifacts, Kendra, Seth, and Knights of Dawn race to strange and exotic preserves across the globe. The stakes have never been higher, the risks have never been more deadly. In this explosive series finale, allegiances will be confirmed and secrets revealed as the forces of light and darkness collide in desperate climactic battle to control the keys to the demon prison. Now, those seem like awful big words for a kid under 10. But that's that. A book that's for a little older. I don't recognize the author at all. It's probably a fairly new book. It's in good condition. Oh, and it's autographed. That looks like one of those computer simulated autographs. Everblue, Brenda Pandos, author of the Talesman series. Best friends share everything with each other, or do they? 17-year-old Ashlyn Frances Lansky is tired of a boring single life. Spending time with her best friend Tiana, dreaming about kissing Tiana's twin brother Finn, and swimming competitively are her only sanctuary. The girls plan to leave the drab lakeside home after lakeside to leave their drab lakeside town for far behind for college. But when Tachi fails to return home after a family emergency, the family disappears. What happened to them? Another book that you may or may not have heard of that is very, 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 very massively popular with young adults. The movie was very popular too. Catching Fire. Let's see, will we be doing this in... Should I save this for Flashback Monday? 2009, nope. We're up to 2012 in Flashback Monday, as of now. So, Catching Fire. Against all odds, Katniss has won the Hunger Games. She and fellow District 12 tribute Pekka Mellock are miraculously still alive. Katniss should be relieved, happy even, after all she has returned to her family and her longtime friend Gale. But nothing is the way Katniss wishes it to be. Gale holds her at an icy distance. Petra has turned his back on her completely, and there are whispers of a rebellion against the capital, a rebellion that Katniss and Petra may have helped create. Now, these last two. This is one of my authors from a long time ago, and she's still writing good. So, Jacqueline Carey, Autumn Bones, a little on the paranormal side. Fathered by an incubus, raised by a mortal mother, and a liaison to the Pemnos Police Department, Daisy Johansson pulled the community together after a summer tragedy befell the resort town she calls home. Things are back to normal as it gets for a town famous for its supernatural tourism and presided over by the reclusive Norse goddess Hel. Okay. And our last one, The Way of Shadows, Brent Week. For as though survival is precious, something you never take for granted. As a guild rat, he's grown up in the slums and learned to judge people quickly and take risks. Risks like apprenticing himself to Duro Blintz. But to be accepted, Azo must turn his back on his old life and embrace a new identity and new name. As Kylo Stern, he must learn to navigate the assassin's world of dangerous politics and strange magics and cultivate a flair for death. Like I said, we should have some Star Treks next week. So let's see what happens there if they're still there, if they haven't sold. Who knows? Fingers crossed. But here we are, episode 245 of Star Trek Next Generation. No voice overview to start. And where is... Well, I'm just discombobulated today, aren't I? Hold on. So obviously Data has the night shift, and Picard comes on, and he wanted to do some work of his own, and he wants to talk to Dr. Moray in the archaeology site on Landris 2. And he says he can't put the call through because Stella Cartography has requested a communications blackout while they run an experiment, and the experiment's going to take 3 hours. So he's like, all right, forget it. So then he goes to his desk, and he wants the computer to access the latest excavation schematics on Landers too. And the computer says they can't do it because of stellar cartography. So Picard decides to go down to stellar cartography to see what's going on. And he's like, the door opens and she's like, in or out, close the door, don't move. It'll take a second for our eyes to adjust. Alleviate 3.2 marquees. Now 3.2, Commander. Good, we can do this. No, we're losing vertical alignment. Compensating. And they go through all this stuff. And then they're surprised to see Captain Picard. And you'll have to, and then Picard's like, we weren't expecting anybody to be up at this hour. And he's like, well, you're new to the Enterprise, you'll have to expect the unexpected. Big brother! Now, perhaps you'll tell me why it's so important that required depriving the captain of a ship of his Earl Grey. Earl Grey, no wonder you can't sleep. Computer, bring replicators back online and give me a cup of Darien Herbal Tea number 3, hot. You shouldn't be drinking a stimulant at this time of night. I think you'll like this. So, does anybody know, is that iced tea? Because it looks like iced tea. Or is it real tea? Hot tea. Somebody will have to decide. Let me know if that's real tea or not. So he tries her tea, and he doesn't like it. I've programmed 7 of the blends into the replicator. You're bound to like one of them. I look forward to sampling them. I'm sorry if the system blackouts we requested inconvenienced you. We were taking very precise gravimetric readings. It wouldn't have taken much to throw them off. What were the readings for? I'm trying to reconstruct a mathematical model of an emerging star system. If it works, we'll be able to predict the figuration of a star system that won't be formed for another 2 million years. Yeah, so we won't be here in 2 million years. What's the point? Um, well, that's a long time to wait to see if you're right, the captain says. I have a few things to do between now and then. And then Riker contacts the captain. Will be arriving in Nebula in 3 hours. How does he know he's still up? How does Riker know that Picard is up? Um, so he talks to the lady more and then he goes, oh, well now I guess I know how he knows he's up. So he talks to Riker. What's with the leg always up? Why does Riker always do that? Does anybody know? Um, so he goes, Captain will be arriving in Borgelis Nebula in 3 hours. Yes, I understand it's an unusual radioactive emissions, and I'm sure the stellar sciences will find it a most interesting study. Commander Darren has already requested extra time on the main sensor array. Well, you'll have the bridge, number 1. Data says, Captain, I would like to remind you of our concert this evening at 10:04. We'll be forming Chopin's trio in G minor. I'll be there. So then he's having some tea with Beverly, and she likes that tea that the lady from Stellar recommended. And she's also she has a nurse back, and she's also looking forward to spending time with Wesley in the future. And he says, I've met the new head of Stellar Sciences last night, Lieutenant Commander Darren. Yes, Nella Darren came into sickbay for her physical last week. I liked her very forthright. Do you know now it's possible to predict the configuration of a star system which won't be formed for another 2 million years? Really? I didn't know that. It's really quite intriguing. The whole thing is made possible by complex mathematical construction based on fractal particle motion. Only the foundation, the modeling itself is done by Draviga Winfrey. She's like, I see. And Picard's like, well, I know all this is pretty dry stuff. Stellar cartography isn't everybody's cup of tea. I'm sure it's quite fascinating. You know we should be getting along to 10 forward. We're going to be late for the concert. So they go to the concert, but he sees Nella too. So they go to the 3-person concert. Doesn't they usually have other players besides just the 3? But there's just 3 this time. And it's liked very much. They get really good applause. And then they have conversation. Could Brent Spinner really play the violin? Does anybody know? Could any of the characters ever really play the thing? Can Will Riker play the trombone or trumpet in real life? Just thought I'd ask. So they all have conversation about how very good the concert was and how very good player she was. Then we have some one-on-one conversation. Do I suspect a little bit of a romance for the captain? And I hate when they throw him at other people. He should be with Beverly like he is in the real world in 2000 with Picard. Why do we have to wait 20 years? Lord have mercy. Really? So then later on, she comes onto the bridge. Excuse me, sir. I was hoping that my people in spectral analysis could have another few hours on the main sensor array. I'm sorry, the array has already been allocated to engineering. They're running some warp field tests. If we go offline now, we'll lose the gas flow pattern we've been tracking. I understand, but there are other departments waiting to use the array. We're at a critical juncture, sir. Commander, I'll see what I can do to find you more time tomorrow. Tomorrow? Thank you, sir. So then she goes to see Captain Picard, and we have some more personal conversation. So then he asks Riker to do some practice fencing with him. So then she's with the doctor, and she's got a little sprain in her wrist, and she says she spent too much time playing the piano. And then she mentioned she was with Picard, and then she said she played a duet with him for hours, and that she didn't know he did duets. And she asked Dr. Crusher how long she's known him. Bunch of girl talk. That's what it is. Okay, then Nella has Picard in the Jeffrey tubes, and they're in casual clothes. So she has found this little area of the Jeffrey tubes where it's almost a very small room, and she can hold a private concert, and the acoustics are really well. So they have yet again another little private thing until. So while we have a little concert going on, we have the Queen Bee showed up. There she is, my gal. How's it going? Have you seen the shorts? She was laying on a bed, and 3,000 people watched her laying on a bed. Nobody watches me talking about Star Trek or talking about a book, but 3,000 people will watch her on a bed. Well, thank you for watching her on a bed. I appreciate it. Go on. And Jordy's like, I hear music. And he calls Data over, and Data's like, I don't hear anything. Trying to listen for the music, which has now stopped. Because we've got some kissing going on. I told you this was a romance episode. So then we're back on the bridge, and Worf says the Federation outpost in Barillas 3 reports that they are entering a period of firestorm activity. Geordi says Barella's firestorms happen on a 7-year cycle. They're not expecting any for another 8 months. We don't rendezvous with the Havana for another 2 days. That'll give us plenty of opportunity to study this phenomenon. Riker says, helm set course for Barella's 3, warp 5. Aye, sir. And then he wants to speak with Troy in his ready room. It always drives me crazy that they can't show the two people having a conversation. They gotta do your face, then that face, then your face, then that face, then your face. I want to see both people in the room together. So he talks to Troy, and he tells her about Nella, and he wonders if this will affect his role on the ship. I want to talk to you about a matter of protocol. I know there are no Starfleet regulations about a captain becoming involved with a fellow officer, but you would like to know my opinion about you and Commander Darren. Is it that obvious? In a way that pleases people who care about your happiness, yes. But I have to be concerned about more than my own happiness. And you think that your feelings toward Nella could change the way you function as a captain. Yes, relationship with coworkers can be fraught with consequences. That's true. That's why he needs to be in a relationship with Beverly. Beverly, 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 Beverly. And then he asks Troy's permission, and she says, okay. So then he goes to see Sissy Neller again, and he says, I'm really sorry about what happened in the turbo lift. When the crew member walked in, I felt very self-conscious. It's going to take a while for me to get used to the idea of crew seeing us together. She says, I understand. I'm glad you told me. For a minute there, I thought I misread you, a one kissing you off to somebody else. I can assure you that I've not given to casual relationships. And there is something that I want to tell you, but not here. And then they're going to make plans to meet up later to talk. So then we have some more private, personal conversation. We have more small talk, more romancy-wancy stuff. How's my girl? How's my gal? There's my gal. She's okay. Are you comfortable? This lady has she has a cat, and her cat had 4 kittens, and she wants to keep the mommy and 1 kitten, and she wants me to take the other 3 kittens. The problem with taking the 3 kittens is that if you usually get them from a professional place, they've had all their shots and they've been spaded. These kittens have not had their shots and have not been spaded, and that costs mucho dollars. In all of that, 2 of my children would love siblings, but somebody else does not want siblings. None. She doesn't want any. She just would not accept them. So there is a delay, so somebody else may end up with those kittens. As much 2 of my children's would love to have siblings. They would love to have somebody to play with. But the queen bee does not want competition for my affection. She wants me all to herself. So what's going on there? So then Nella goes to talk to Riker. She says, Commander, I was hoping to talk to you about Ensign Cabot's transfer. Quantum mechanics doesn't want to give him up, but he wants to come to my department. How do you know that? I offered it to him. Transfers are to be approved by me before any offers are made. I'm sorry, we were just talking, and it's all right, but Cabot should stay where he is. Commander, please don't make that decision final. I realize I shouldn't have made the offer, but he's perfect for the job, and quantum mechanics is overstaffed anyway. Commander, do you realize the position you're putting me in? Well, I think I was just doing what any good department head would do, trying to build the best staff I can. He says, I'll look into it and let you know. Does she wear her hair like Beverly does? It looks exactly like Beverly does. So then Riker goes to see Riker goes to see Picard, sorry. It's about Lieutenant Commander Darren. As a department head, she comes to me for system allocation, personal transfers, things like that. I'm beginning to feel uncomfortable with her requests. Because of her relationship with me, yes, sir. Are her requests unusual? No. Would you say she's trying to do her job? Yes, sir. Then let her do it and feel free to do yours. Ship resources are your responsibility. I've always had absolute confidence in your judgment. And Riker says thank you and leaves. We're seeing Picard out of uniform a lot lately. So he tells her that Commander Riker came to see him about the personnel transfer. I thought he looked uncomfortable. I thought I was asking for special treatment. I was just doing what I thought was best for my department. That's what I told him. We have to be careful. Obviously, it's easy for people to misunderstand. I don't like the thought of having to second guess people all the time. If I have to worry about what other people are thinking about me, I'll be concentrating on the wrong thing and I won't be effective as an officer. All I'm saying is that's something we have to be aware of. You mustn't compromise yourself. You must do what you have to do. And he has to do what he has to do. Obviously, this is not going to work out. So then we get a voiceover From Worf, Borealis 3 reports the storm has changed its speed and heading. They're predicting it will hit the outpost in 8 hours, and they're requesting evacuation. So then we get an overview. We have entered the Borealis star system and are making preparations to evacuate the Federation outpost on the third planet. So I like this. This is a good group shot. You don't get this in many of the episodes. You usually get one side of the table, the other side of the table, and one person's face. I like that we have a whole group shot here. This is nice. Um, a large firestorm can kick up winds over 200 kilometers per hour and temperatures as high as 300 degrees. What causes them, Beverly asked. They form when solar flare radiation reacts with high energy plasma present in the planet's atmosphere. Wasn't the outpost built to withstand the conditions? It was, but both reinforced and insulated. But this is no ordinary storm. It's twice as strong as anything they've ever seen. The outpost won't withstand it. We'll arrive an hour before the storm gets there. It'll take at least 2 to evacuate all the colonists off the surface. I led a team of geologists to study the Gemosphere on Melonis 4. We cross-connected a few thermal deflectors units to create a protective shield against the heat. A firewall. Would that work here? You know, it might. The storm is approaching the outpost from this direction. If we were to set up a series of thermal deflectors units, the northern perimeter, we could create a firewall that would deflect some of the heat. The insulation from the outpost would be able to handle the rest. Data says the thermal deflectors generate approximately 400 meters wide. We would need to connect 6 units and align them so the fields would overlap. How many people would it take to set up? 12, 2 per team. Cross-connecting that many units will be a little tricky, but once they're set up, we'll have to leave the units in place and transport our people out. Nobody would be able to survive very long outside the structure. They decide to do it. The storm is going to interfere with communications. Everything will be need to coordinated from the surface. Mr. Data, you will coordinate evacuation of the colonists. Doctor, you'll have 9 patients in the outpost infirmary. Your first priority will get them to sickbay. After that, you will stay on board the Enterprise to receive casualties. Marquise, you will take some people down and track the storm. All other teams will need to be kept apprised of its heading. Commander, you're in charge of deploying deflectors. Let's go. Oh. When he talks to Darren privately, he's worried about her safety. And she's like, I'm just doing my job. We agreed to not let our jobs interfere with our relationship. And he's like, right. So he talks to Riker a little bit about setting up the stuff. Then he watches Nella beam down to the surface, and he's all stressful and worried about her beaming down to the surface. And then they start setting up the deflected things, and there's lots and lots of stress, back and forth, stress. Going to the scene, coming to the bridge, going to the scene, coming to the bridge, going to the scene, coming to the bridge. So that's down on the planet. That's them setting up the deflector stuff. The fires come and they're evacuating people and they're starting to stress because they're running out of time and they still got to evacuate more people. And she's down there on one of the last teams working on this planet. So they're having trouble on the planet. They've lost communications. He's worried about them. He talks to Riker about the situation, and they needed a few more minutes, and they lost contact with teams 3 and 6, and Nella was on team 6, but they end up pulling them all out. He's very happy to see her. He was very worried about her. And they both come to the realization that they can't work together because he would never allow her to go on away missions again because he's just too much in love. But I'm telling you, he'd feel that way about Riker, Worf, Beverly, Troy, everybody. Wesley, Data, Geordi, he would feel that way about if he lost any member of his crew. And they have this fond farewell little chit-chat. So we have a final captain's voice overview. Although we succeeded in rescuing all 643 Beryllian colonists, we lost 8 crew members. Let the record show that they gave their lives in the performance of their duty. So then we have our goodbye chit chat. We know we can't work together situation chit chat. And that's the end. So that was lessons. I guess we should call it lessons in love. We did Birthright, we did Starship Mom, we did Lessons today. Please join me next week for The Chase and those Star Trek novels if I'm able to get a hold of them. Fingers crossed. Have a good day.